And you know, these conspiracy theories, they really don't work when you carry them to their logical conclusion. You know, one pastor was saying that this vaccine is the mark of the beast. Well, it was developed under Donald Trump, and because of his great leadership, we got it as quickly as we did. So who does that make Donald Trump? I don't think most Christians want to say that he's the Antichrist. It's just really foolish.
I recommend take the vaccines. I did it. It's good. Take the vaccines. But you got, no, that's okay. That's all right. You got your freedoms. But I happen to take the vaccine.
Mr. President, thank you for having the time for this interview, and congratulations for clinching the Republican nomination.
Thank you.
Israelis remember the historic decision you took as a president for the Jewish state. Now we are under a war. And our first question is whether you support Israel's goal to completely destroy Hamas.
Okay, so let me just explain why it's so sad. If I were president, you would have never been attacked because Iran was broke. They had no money. They had no money for Hamas. They had no money for Hezbollah. They had no money for anybody. And now they're sitting with $221 billion in cash, and they control Iraq, which has $300 billion in cash. It's like a subsidiary. Whether you like it or not, it's like a subsidiary because stupidly the United States went in and blew everything up. You know, you had two countries that were sort of equal in power, and one of them got blown up by the United States, and now Iran has a big advantage in the Middle East over a lot of other countries. When I saw October 7th, it was one of the saddest things I've ever seen because there was no reason for it. They would have never, ever done that for two reasons. Number one, they were broke, and number two, I was the president. They would have never done that because they knew there would have been very big consequences. All right. That being said, you have to finish up your war. You have to finish it up. You got to get it done. And I'm sure you'll do that. Now we got to get to peace. You can't have this going on. And I will say Israel has to be very careful because you're losing a lot of the world. You're losing a lot of support. But you have to finish up. You have to get the job done. And you have to get on to peace. You have to get on to a normal life for Israel and for everybody else.
So if you re-elect in a few months once again to vice president, and Israel still may be in a war, how would you help Israel?
Well, look, there has been no president better to Israel than me. Iran wanted to make a deal, and with the deal, 90% of the deal that I want to make is no nuclear weapon. That's 90%, almost 100%. It might be 100%. That's all I want, no nuclear weapon for Iran. And it's so sad when I see what's happening in Israel and Ukraine and other places, many other places in Israel, because of all the things I do. The embassy, Jerusalem being the capital, the best location for the embassy, and getting the embassy built. But then you have Abraham Accords, and then you have Golan Heights. Nobody even thought that was going to be possible. I did that, and I did it because of a lot of reasons. Israel has to do what they have to do, but we have to get to peace because the world is turning, and it's not a good thing for Israel. What's happening is not a good thing.
I want to share with you a question that in our minds, every leader in the world should reply. How would you react going through on October 7?
On October 7, I would say I would act very much the same way as you did. I'd have to be crazy not to. Only a fool would not do that. That was a horrible attack. But it was an attack that I blame on Biden because they have no respect for him. He can't put two sentences together. He can't talk. He's a very dumb person. He's a dumb person.
Especially in the last 2 years, since the war in Ukraine and then now the war in Israel, including this Suez Canal, which is actually close to international trade. How do you see the world coming out of this crisis? I mean, shouldn't we? Do not we need strong America to stop all this mess around the world?
The problem with the world today is Trump. If Trump were president of the United States, there'd be no problem with China and Taiwan. There'd be no problem with Israel being attacked on October 7th, and Ukraine would have never happened. The attack on Ukraine would have never happened. That would have never happened with Putin. For two reasons. Number one, he wouldn't have done it if I were president. We used to talk about it. He would never have done it. Say if I ran for office in Israel, I'd get 98% of the vote. I'm not Jewish, and yet Israel to me is very important. That's why I did Golan Heights. Golan Heights is worth trillions of dollars. I called in our ambassador, David Friedman. I said, give me a little bit of a lesson, a history lesson on Golan Heights, 5 minutes or less, if possible. And he did. He gave me a very good, quick history lesson, and I made a decision. I gave you something that nobody else would have given you. But the biggest thing I gave, look, I gave the capital of Israel and the whole thing with the embassy, which created the capital in a sense.
Mentioning Ambassador Friedman, he just presented a new plan, I don't know if you saw it, suggesting that the United States will recognize Israel's sovereignty over the West Bank or Judea and Samaria, the way it's called. Would you support such a plan?
Well, they want to show it to me. They want to discuss it. I'm going to take a look at it. Look, I've been doing a lot of things for Israel. That's what's good for Israel. But I also want peace. I want to see peace like everyone else. You want to see peace too.